Right now, the kids are at home, and you might be a little concerned that they aren't learning and keeping up with their studies like they should be, instead of video games and Netflix. Let's maybe dust off those books on the shelf and get to work. With us today to talk about just how important having your kids read is, we have Amber Emery with the Children's Services Supervisor at the Fargo Public Library. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, so first off, libraries are closed, but a lot of us have books at home and there are other opportunities to get your hands on a book. Can I start with maybe what would seem like an obvious question? How important is reading to children, especially those younger kids?
It's very important. So for young kids, the best way to get them interested in reading and want to learn to read when they become that age, when that's appropriate, is to read to them. Spend time with books. And it can be hard when you have a small child and they don't want to sit still. So it is good to pick times when they are interested in it. I recommend to parents who have kids who don't want to sit still, sit down in the middle of the room and just read to them while they're playing with their blocks or their trains or their toys. But it's also important to read with older kids when they're even school-age children. It's important to read with them or to give them time to read and give them time to choose what they're reading and then read on their own or read with you, and so that they can have that extra practice, so to speak.
Kind of following up on what you just said, and I know I've talked to my second grader's teacher about this, that even though she's now supposed to be reading, she prefers me to read to her. Do you think that's still okay, right? If they're enjoying it, sometimes the older they are, the more they enjoy mom reading to them.
Certainly. My mom read to me until I think I was like 9 or 10. So those are some of my best memories. So I don't think that there's anything wrong. I think that what that does is that it helps them. If you read to them as a small child, that provides that comfort and those good feelings that they had connecting the reading to spending time with you as their parent or as their big person.
Now, can we talk about how much time we should spend reading, whether it's our children reading on their own or us? Because even though we're home, off of school, it seems like our lives just get so busy, and it's easy to say, I just don't have time.
Right. So time is always it can be a controversial subject. I know that it's very easy to say, hey, you should read with your child for 20 minutes a day or have them read for 20 minutes. But when it becomes a chore or it becomes something that they don't want to do and then they fight you on it, then you're associating those negative feelings with the reading. And that's certainly not what you want to do either. So one of the things is, particularly right now, what I was thinking is that if you can contact your child's teacher and say to them, well, what times during the day would you have normally read during the school day? And then try to set that time aside during your day at home, because that's going to be something that they already are used to, that they're ready to get out a book and read at that time. So how long they spend is probably not as important as far as I'm concerned. Or becoming an avid reader, as are they enjoying reading? Did they get to pick out what they wanted to read? Are they doing it on a regular basis? And those are the things I think are more important than saying, okay, well, you have to read for 20 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever.
That's great advice, right? I know I don't like to be told what to do either, and putting numbers on it sometimes is hard, but just staying in the routine. We've heard from so many people, think about what time they read in the classroom and do it at home. That's great. Seems obvious, but that's a great piece of advice. Okay, and so you also already touched on this, but how about making it fun? Is it about letting them pick the book?
So we're not, parents are not teachers. We're not here to try to teach our kids how to read. And if I can say that and take the pressure off any parents at home, please, they have teachers to teach them how to read. So unless you're homeschooling your child, you don't have to worry about it. Your job is to help them want to read and to become avid readers. That's my job as a public librarian, and I take it very seriously. And one of the steps to that is making sure that they get to choose what they want to read. So even if that means they read the same thing or the same series over, right now, that's going to provide them with some comfort, with some predictability, some stability. So during these kind of unusual and anxious times, that can be something that will really help them come back to something that they know. So I know parents will say, well, they only want to read this series or they only want to read this book. And I say, you know what? Let them. That's okay. For those beginning readers, it provides some success for them to work on towards getting to something that's higher level. And, you know, we don't tell adults that they have to read Shakespeare all of the time. So telling kids that they have to read at the top of their reading level all of the time, that gets really tiring. It's exhausting for kids.
Great advice. Okay, you know what? We're going to take just a quick break, and when we come back, maybe looking at some new options for reading, if that's what they want. You're going to give us your recommendations next.